and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I will be following up to my previously shared snowflake tutorial. So today I will be sharing with you how you can create this pretty snowflake granny square. So we are really jumping into this Christmas season, and I truly hope that you will have fun with this project and that you will be able to use this granny square to create some even more fun creations. As always, I have made sure that this tutorial is as beginner friendly as possible, but otherwise if you feel like I'm going too fast or too slow, then just feel free to adjust the speed of the video and I'm sure that it will help you. And besides that, if you have any questions or you need any help with this project, then just feel free to reach out in the comment section below and I will try to help you from there. Otherwise, there is also a written version of this pattern available for purchase on my Etsy store. It's linked down below in the description box, so if you would like to purchase it, your support will be super appreciated. But now, without further ado, let's jump into it. Here are the materials that I will be using. Here I have two different colors of cotton yarn, which is 4-ply, and of course you will also need your crochet hook. For this project I'm using 3.5mm hook, and you will also need scissors. And here is the actual granny square, which I will be teaching you in this video. So this is the goal after this tutorial. So now let's jump into it. So first I will be starting with this white color for the snowflake, and our first step is to create a magic ring. So for that I'm just grabbing yarn and then tying it around my fingers like this to create an X shape here, like that. Then I'm taking my crochet hook and going underneath the first piece of yarn that I have here, turning my hook and grabbing the second piece and pulling it through to establish a loop on the hook. So now we have basically created magic ring, and we also have this starting point. And then our next step is to chain 2. So for that you're just yarning over, then grabbing yarn and pulling it through the loop like this. So this counts as one chain, and then you're doing the same to create the second chain like this. So now we have a magic ring as well as chain of 2. And then our next step is to do one double crochet, and in this case this chain of 2 and double crochet is going to count as 1-2 double crochet clusters. So that's just something to keep in mind. So for double crochet you have to yarn over, then go through the magic ring, grab yarn and pull it up to have 3 loops on your hook, then yarn over and pull through 2, and then yarn over again and pull through remaining 2 like this. So this piece that we have just created, it counts as one double crochet cluster with 2 double crochet stitches inside. And these clusters that we will be doing, that's something to also keep in mind as a stitch for throughout the project, because that's basically kind of like one of the main stitches that we will be using. And then after this our next step is to chain 2, so 1 and 2 like this, and then we can work in another double crochet cluster which will consist of 2 double crochets. So for that you have to yarn over, then go through the magic ring, grab yarn and pull it up to have 3 loops on your hook, then yarn over and only pull through the first 2 loops like this. So this is half of this cluster that we are creating, and now we have kind of done like one unfinished double crochet. And after that, to finalize our cluster, we have to work on another double crochet. We are just yarning over, going again through the magic ring, grabbing yarn and pulling it up, and in this case we now have 4 loops on our hook, and then we are just yarning over and pulling through the first 2 loops that we have here. So now we have 2 unfinished double crochets, and in total we have 3 loops on our hook. And then once we have this, we can finalize this 2 double crochet cluster that we have here. And for that we are just yarning over and going through all 3 loops that we had on our hook like this. So this is our second cluster and this is how it looks. After we have done that, we just have to chain 2 again, 1 and 2, and then we can do another cluster inside this magic ring. But before we do that, it's very important to note that all the stitches that we are doing, all of them have to cover both of these pieces of yarn that we have here. So if you're noticing that you are running short of this one, then basically just pull it and you will get more of it, and you will be able to cover both pieces of yarn with all the stitches that you are doing. But now let's do another cluster together. So again, we are starting to work on double crochet and only completing it halfway through like this. Then we are doing another double crochet and also completing it halfway through like that. So now we have 2 unfinished double crochet stitches basically and 3 loops on our hook, and we can finalize this cluster by just yarning over and going through all 3 loops that we had on our hook like that. So now we have 3 clusters in total. After we have done that, we just chain 2 and we can proceed with the next cluster that's on our list. And in total you will have to create 8 of these clusters, and once you have done the final one, then I will basically just meet you back again. So for now, just proceed with doing these 2 double crochet clusters and make sure that you are making 8 of them in total, and after each of them just chain 2. But otherwise I will meet you once I have created all of these. So here I have done all 8 clusters, and after the last one again we just have to chain 2, so 1 and 2 like this. And now you can see we have filled this magic circle that we created here, and now we can actually close it. So for closing that, you just have to pull this loose piece of yarn that we have here, and as you are pulling it you can see that the ring is closing and we are establishing a nice and smooth round shape. And now we are also officially done with this first round, so we can connect this round by doing a slip stitch, and we will be doing that here inside the very first cluster that we created. And to do a slip stitch, you basically just have to go through this cluster here and then grab yarn and pull it through, and then pull it through the loop that you had on your hook initially, like this. So now we have completed this slip stitch, and we have also connected this first round. So now we can start working on the second round, and to do that we first have to do another slip stitch here inside this chain 2 space that we have here. So for that, again, I'm just going through this space, grabbing yarn, pulling it through, and then pulling it through the loop that I already had on my hook. So now we have a starting point, and then our next step is to chain 2, so 1 and 2. Again, this is going to count as half of the cluster that we had in the beginning of the previous round. So the next step again is to do 1 double crochet like this. So I'm completing this stitch, and we have technically also created 1 double crochet cluster that we have here. And then after that, our next step is to chain 2 again, so 1 and 2. And once that's done, we are adding another 2 double crochet cluster inside this same space together with the stitches that we just did. So again, I'm just doing 1 unfinished double crochet, then adding another one inside the same space like this, and then yarning over and going through all the loops that I had on my hook like that. And after this, we can proceed with the next space that we have here. And right away, we are starting with adding 2 double crochet cluster in this space here, like this. So this is 1, 2 double crochet cluster. After that, we are chaining 2 again, 1 and 2. And then we are adding another 2 double crochet cluster inside the very same space. So quite similar step to the previous round, and this is basically what we have to add in all of these chain 2 spaces from the first round. So just continue doing this, and then I will again meet you back once we are finalizing this round and connecting it. So now we are done with all the stitches and clusters for the second round, and it's basically done, but it's just left for us to connect it. So for connecting this round together, we are again going to do a slip stitch, and we will do that here inside the very first cluster. So you just have to go through this cluster, grab yarn and pull it through, and then pull it through the loop that you already had. So now the second round is finalized, and we can proceed with the third round. So again, for the third round, before we can start, we actually have to do another slip stitch here inside this chain 2 space that we already had. So we are going through there and adding another slip stitch in there like this. Once that's done, we can officially proceed with starting the third round. And first, our step is to chain 2, 1 and 2, and again the process is similar as we had before. Since we have to start this round from scratch, we are kind of creating this chain 2 and then adding a complete double crochet, which then in total counts as 1 2 double crochet cluster. And then once that's done, we are chaining 3, 1 2 and 3, and then after that we are adding another 2 double crochet cluster inside this very same space. So again, quite similar steps to what we have done already before. So here I'm just adding 2 unfinished double crochets and then making it into a cluster by going through all the loops that I had on my hook like this. So these are the stitches that we have to add inside this space here, and once that's done, we are chaining 2, 1 and 2. So this is basically the only difference that we are adding in comparison to the previous round, as well as here in between these clusters we have 3 chains instead of 2. So let's do another part together. So first we are adding 2 double crochet cluster inside here like this. Once that's done, we are chaining 3, 1 2 and 3, and then we are adding another cluster which consists of 2 double crochets like that, and I'm completing it. And once that's done, we are just chaining 2, 1 and 2, and then we are able to proceed with the next space, where again we are doing the same thing. So here I have already started and I have added 1 cluster, then I'm just chaining 3 and adding another cluster inside this same space that we have here, and then again chaining 2 after that. So this is how it looks so far. I have completed 3 of these spaces, and this is basically the process. You just have to go through all of these until you have 8 of these in total. So 1 2 3, and then just add 5 more in the remaining spaces that we have here. So here I'm done with this third round, and all that's left for me to do is just to chain 2, so 1 and 2, and our third round now is officially completed. Normally we would be connecting all of our rounds by doing a slip stitch, but in this case we will connect it right away by proceeding further with the fourth round. So let's start working on the fourth round, and our first step here is to basically do a single crochet inside this very first cluster that we have here. So for single crochet, you just have to go through this cluster here that we have, then grab yarn and pull it through to have 2 loops on your hook, then yarn over and pull through both of the loops like this. And this is single crochet. Then after that we are again proceeding further with our clusters, and now our next step is to do a 2 double crochet cluster in here. So I'm just creating 1 unfinished double crochet and then adding another one, 3 loops on the hook, and then yarning over and pulling through both of them like this. After that, once that's done, we are just chaining 1 and then adding 1 double crochet. So yarning over, going through the same space, grabbing yarn and pulling it up to have 3 loops, yarning over and pulling through both of them, yarning over and pulling through the remaining 2 like this. So this is 1 double crochet. And then after that we are chaining 3 because we will be doing a picot stitch. So for that we just have to chain 3 first. So 1 2 and 3 like this, And then to create this picot stitch, we will have to go through these two loops that we have here. So we are kind of going through the stitch from the up inside it and going through these two loops that kind of create like a V shape here. And then we are just grabbing yarn and pulling it through, and then also pulling it through the loop that we already had. So in a way we are kind of creating a slip stitch in here, but by doing that we are creating this nice little tip that we have here, which will really give quite a lot for our snowflake look. And that's called a picot stitch basically. But once that's done, we are again chaining one, and then proceeding further with adding another 2 double crochet cluster inside this very same space that we have here. So here I have 2 unfinished double crochets, then I'm just yarning over and going through all 3 stitches like this. And this is how it looks so far. And now we are almost done. It's just left for us to do another single crochet here on top of this cluster that we have in here. So I'm just going through there and doing 1 single crochet in there like this. So now this one is completely finalized, and we can proceed with the next chain of 3 space that we have here. But to get there we first have to chain 2, so 1 and 2. And now we can start working on stitches for this part. So let's do another one together. So first we are doing 1 single crochet and we are going through the first cluster here. We have 2 loops and then pulling through both of them. After that we are adding another 2 double crochet cluster inside this chain of 3 space that we have here. So here I have 2 unfinished double crochets and then going through all the loops by creating that. After that we are chaining 1 and then doing 1 complete double crochet inside this very same space here like this. And then again we just have to do our picot stitch. So for that we are chaining 3, 1, 2 and 3. And then we will do kind of like a slip stitch here by going through these 2 loops that we have here, which kind of create the V shape. Then we are just grabbing yarn and pulling it through, and also pulling it through the loop that we already had like this. So it looks like this. And once that's done, we are just chaining 1 and then again doing 2 double crochet cluster inside this very same space here. So this is 1 unfinished double crochet and 3 loops on the hook, and then we are just pulling through all these loops. And after that it's just left for us to do another single crochet at the end of this. So I'm just doing that, and then we have completed this part here. And we can just chain 2, 1 and 2 to move further with the next bit here with the chain of 3 that we have here. Just continue doing that, and then I will meet you back again once we are able to connect this round. So now here I'm basically done with this round, so it's just left for me to do the final chain of 2, 1 and 2, and now we can connect this round. And I will be doing that in here inside this very first cluster that we have here. So I'm just going through that one and doing a slip stitch in there like this. So now this round is connected and it's actually also completed, because now we have basically created our snowflake shape. So now we can actually fasten off this white yarn that we have, and for that we just first have to chain 1 like this. Then we are pulling this loop a little bit longer and grabbing our scissors in the meantime, and then we can just cut off yarn here like that and tighten this loose end that we have here, and by tightening we are creating a secure knot like this. So now we have created our snowflake shape, and this is how it looks. It's super cute, so you can actually use this also as a Christmas decoration if you wish for your Christmas tree. And otherwise, if you don't, you can also turn this into a granny square, which I'm going to teach you just in a bit by adding 2 extra rounds. So let's proceed with round 5, and for that I will be using this lighter blue color. And now our next step basically is to attach this yarn do our snowflake so we can start working on adding the square shape and everything like that. So first I will be just slightly turning this snowflake a little bit so this loose end is somewhere further away, and then I'm just grabbing my crochet hook and we will be attaching yarn. And basically where we will attach it, it's going to be here in this chain one space that we have from the previous round. So you can pick whatever or whichever space you wish from this previous round. So I'm just going through this one. It's very random, and then I'm just grabbing yarn and pulling it through this space here like that, and then I'm just attaching it by making a secure knot here like that. So now our yarn is basically attached and we can proceed with this fifth round. So first, to get started, I'm just putting this yarn behind it and then grabbing my crochet hook, going through again this same space that we have here, and grabbing yarn and pulling it up to kind of have a loop on my hook, and then just chaining one, which is going to help as a starting point. And after that, our next step is to do one single crochet inside this same space. And basically how we are going to start with adding this border, it's going to be from the middle of one side of this square. So this is going to be middle of the side, then the next point will be the corner, then again middle, corner, middle, and ending with a corner. So just for your awareness of what to expect. But now let's add one single crochet inside this same space here. So I'm just doing that like this. Once that's done, we are just chaining one and then kind of like moving to the next chain of one space that we have here. So I'm just slightly folding this picot stitch that we have here and going through this chain one space in there. And in the meantime, I'm also hiding this loose end that I have here from this yarn and just kind of keeping it underneath the stitches that I'm doing. So here I'm just doing one single crochet like this, and I have also kind of attached this yarn at the back so it's not hanging around or anything like that. But now this single crochet is completed and this is how it looks. And now we can move further on this side where we will have to add one double crochet inside this first chain of two that we have done from the previous round. So I'm just adding one double crochet in there, and then once that's done, we are going to do a little bit like a funky stitch, which is going to go through up until second round. And we will basically do like an extended double crochet, which will be kind of like a double crochet, let's say, with the multiple yarn overs. So for that, I'm just yarning over, then going through this second round that I have here, grabbing yarn and pulling it up and kind of extending it to make sure that it goes all the way through from round 2 up until the current round, and that we are kind of like feeling comfortable with this length and nothing here is kind of like packed or squished together too much. And then we are doing once again this same step, so yarning over and again going through this same space that we have here, grabbing yarn and pulling it up and again extending it. So at this point you should have 5 loops on your hook, and then just grab yarn and pull it through the first 4 like this. So this is kind of like the first part of double crochet that you would normally do, and then you just have 2 loops left on your hook, and then just yarn over and pull through remaining 2. So this is the funky stitch that we have here, which is kind of like double extended double crochet with like a double yarn over that we have created. And once that's done, we can move further with the next step, and that is to add another double crochet here in this chain 2 space where we did the previous regular double crochet like this. So this is what we are always going to add after every point of this snowflake here, and those are the steps that we basically have to do. But once that's done, we can now move further with this one, and in here we are going to establish like a corner shape. So for that, inside this chain 1 space, we are adding 2 double crochets, just the regular ones. So this is one, and then I'm adding the second one like this. Now we have to establish like the turning point, so I'm just chaining one, and after that again folding slightly this picot that we have here and going inside the next chain one space that we have here and adding another 2 double crochets inside this very same space like this. So as you can see, this is the middle of this side, and then we have the corner here. So now again we just have to replicate what we did in here, so let's do that together again. So now I'm just doing 1 double crochet. After that we have this funky stitch that is going to go through until round 2. So for that we are yarning over, going through this one, extending this loop, then yarning over, and again going through the same space and extending the loop again like this. And we have 5 loops in total. Then we are just yarning over and going through the first 4 like this to kind of like halfway through finalize this double crochet. Then again yarning over and finalizing double crochet completely. So now the funky stitch is completed, and we are going to add another double crochet inside this same space where we added our first double crochet from these 3 stitches. So adding it in here like that. This is how it looks so far. So here we are with this corner shape, and after that we can proceed with this side here. So again in here we just have to do the same that we already did in here, and for that we are just first adding 1 single crochet like that. Then we are chaining 1, folding this picot and going through the next chain 1 space and adding another single crochet in there like this. So this is how it looks so far. Then again in this space we are just doing the same that we did in here, and then once we will reach this one we are adding another 2 double crochets, chain of 1 and 2 double crochets, and that will basically create the corner of this square. So that's basically what you have to keep on alter between. So in between these points you are always adding these 3 stitches, and then on top of every second of them we have single crochets, and then again in the ones that are in the middle we have these corners which consists of 2 double crochets, chain of 1 and 2 double crochets. So just keep on doing that, and I will meet you once again once we have reached this very end where we started. So here I have done all of these stitches, and as you can see we have kind of also established a square shape. And now this round is also finalized because I have done the last stitch that I had here and I have reached the very beginning. So now again we can connect it by doing a slip stitch here in the very first stitch that we did, which is this single crochet. So I'm just going through this stitch here, then grabbing yarn and pulling it through and pulling through the loop that I already had. So now this round is connected, and this is how it looks so far. So now we can proceed further with the 6th round, and with that we will make this square shape a little bit more pronounced, as well as create the square a little bit bigger, and it will get a little bit better square shape than it has now. So let's proceed with that, and this round is going to be very simple. So what we are going to do is basically add double crochets all the way around, and first to get started we just have to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, and in this case this chain of 3 is going to count as 1 double crochet. After that we can proceed with the next stitch that we have here, or in this case it's actually this chain of 1 space that we did in between the single crochets. So in that one we are also adding 1 double crochet, and then after that we are just proceeding with all the stitches that we have here, and on top of every single one of them we are just adding 1 double crochet, and 1 goes on top of every single stitch that we have here, and we are just doing that until we reach the very first corner, which we have here behind this picot stitch that we have here in this chain 1 space between the 2 double crochets. So here I have got already this far, and this is how it looks. And inside this space, this is where we are adding the corner. So for the corner in this round, we just have to do 2 double crochets inside the same space. So I'm just adding the second one already like this. So this is half of the corner, and after that we are just chaining 3. So 1, 2 and 3, and this chain of 3 is going to help our corner to turn. And then we are just adding 2 more double crochets inside this very same space. So this is 1, and then also adding the second one. And then we can proceed further with this side. So again, we are just adding double crochet on top of every single stitch, also including these chain 1 spaces between the picots that are surrounded by single crochets. And then again, in the corners, we are adding 2 double crochets, chain of 3 and 2 double crochets again. So just basically go through all the way around until you have added stitches for this 6th round that we have how to do here. So here I have completed this round, and I have added corners in all the places where it's needed, as well as stitches on all the sides. And here also the very final stitch is completed, so now we can actually finalize this round and connect it together. So for that, once again, we will be just doing a slip stitch, and we will do that here inside the 3rd chain from the very beginning where we started. So I'm just going through this 3rd chain here, then grabbing yarn and doing a slip stitch in there like this. So now this round is finalized, and I will be fastening off my yarn. However, if you want, you can add more volume by just repeating this last round that we just did. So basically just adding double crochet on top of every single stitch, and then in the corners again it's the same process, 2 double crochets, chain of 3 and 2 double crochets. So if you wish, you can do that, but I will be fastening off. So for that, again, I just have to chain 1 like this. Then I'm just making this loop a little bit longer and grabbing my scissors in the meantime and just cutting off yarn like that. And now just tightening it by pulling this loose end that I have here. And now this snowflake granny square is completed, and this is how it looks. You can easily just block it if you wish, or also it helps if you're just stretching it out slightly, so it helps to create or take this square shape that is needed for it. And this is basically how it looks. I really hope that you had fun with this project. What you can do is basically create multiple of these snowflake granny squares and connect them together. Here I have done already a couple, which also include my test squares from the very beginning when I was creating this pattern. So what you can do is just create a bunch of them and connect them together by using slip stitch or darning needle. And you can create some fun creations such as scarves, balaclavas for winter, cardigans, tops, whatever you basically wish. But yeah, I hope you had fun, and this is how you can create snowflake granny square. So that was it from me today. I really hope that you had fun with this project and that you will come up with some fun ideas on what to make from these granny squares. If you want to have any inspiration, then just feel free to go through my channel or my Instagram, because I have made quite a lot of different projects from granny squares, so that's something you can inspire from and to get some ideas from there. Otherwise, if you did enjoy this video, then just please give me a big thumbs up, and if you're new to this channel, then please subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye!